Atlantis American. We're reporting on the best places to live rankings on U.S. News and World Report. Number 15th was Melbourne, Florida. Then Ann Arbor, Michigan. San Jose, California. Boise, Idaho in 12th. Madison, Wisconsin 11th. Fayetteville, Arkansas in 10th. Colorado Springs, Colorado in 9th. Charlotte, North Carolina in 8th. Portland, Maine in 7th. Naples, Florida in 6th. Sarasota, Florida in 5th. Boulder, Colorado in 4th. Raleigh and Durham, North Carolina in 3rd. Huntsville, Alabama in 2nd. And first is Green Bay, Wisconsin. And again, at our Manor One program, we know that the best place to live is in a home that's safe, leads to increasing your life expectancy. Semper Veritas, Semper Topology, Semper Health, Semper Life, from the old Regentin maxim, Semper Fidelis. Regentin was the old Dutch merchant marine that my ancestors, enlisted to become the United States Marine Corps. We have a mentality in Manor One to try to increase life expectancy. These are nice places. I've been to a lot of those places. But as editorial, we think it's important that we look at new options for how to build and construct, design a home based on public health. Not just post-COVID, but the fact that we have not, as a species, eradicated a disease, maybe since polio, depending how you measure it. That happens to be an incredible problem. So if you look at all of your healthcare expenses over the last 10 years, and you look at how many of them are tied back to where you live and the systems in your home, it's worth making a major change. That major change can include enlisting with us to build a Manor One home for you, one that utilizes all the advantages to make it easy to increase your life expectancy, to make yourself free of parasites. We know that enterology is the medical science, that traces back to Louis Pasteur, to Edward Jenner, to Jonas Salk, and that that medical science of disease eradication can be implemented in a home. There are a lot of parts of the home that would be designed far better. We discussed some of these, in our last video on the matter, but having a cabana panel, hot water, again, the opportunity for real-time hot water means that there's opportunity for real-time hot water with the opportunity to adjust pH and add suspended chlorine. Being able to have a hot, swimming pool style chlorinated shower is a good public health decision. I happen to have been a competitive swimmer and noticed that swimming helped keep me healthy. The slightest bit of chlorine left on like acrylic fabrics, such as like running shorts, throughout the course of a day ends up making you cleaner, where the chlorine is doing its thing, keeping your body clean. And that can be implemented into a Manor One home, as can a pasteurization solution, which we describe as a saber handle. The saber handle of for having daddy style cleaning. Again, there are surfaces in the American home that need 220 degrees. There's not a 220 degree tool in the kitchen, but there should be. One with a saber handle. The opportunity is there for having multiple different definitions of greases, which cause different kinds of parasites. Something that we elaborated on, again, this medical science of enterology. You can imagine like bursting open the clock tower door, and seeing a long tightrope that you need to walk throughout your day to avoid parasites. And you can imagine clowns, on bicycles, riding, to and fro on that tightrope. And then you can imagine what you need to do is race into it and jump over all those clowns. and get your body and get your life free of disease. And how do you do that? Enterology is the way that you insert new blocks, new methods of blocking disease from your life. Parasites happen to be like extranatural. Extranatural, sort of like is the scientific term. When you look at the spikes of foodborne illness, for example, they happen to be extranatural. Like they don't follow the pattern that you have with other stage 2 life. Like we don't have a extranatural problem of rabbits proliferating, spontaneously and causing public health disasters. And if we did, it would make bigger news than microorganisms, because you can spot, if you suddenly had huge colonies of, rabbits, that would be noticeable. Microscopic, pests are not as easily detectable. And so it's important to be vigilant about what phrase we use of the old Jack Fedek word tag, which you can think of like the children's game tag. But a lot of these parasites are involved in little games of tag throughout your life, throughout your home, throughout surfaces, like in your kitchen and in your washroom. And the way that fundamentally how we eliminate those parasites from our life is redesigning our homes and making our homes for us, for Homo sapiens, and not making homes for parasites. And if you look at the design and architecture for American, dwellings, residences, arguably we haven't been designing for Homo sapiens. Like we haven't designed things that Homo sapiens want in their home. We've kept a lot of things away from ourselves that we wouldn't have done otherwise, which is really interesting. One of the examples is, we don't grow spices inside our home, which is a really bizarre thing given our shepherding tradition. If you look back, there's E.O. Wilson, the legendary late great scientist, noted that there are 66 separate shepherd traditions, and almost all of them had some kind of attempts at indoor horticulture. And this bizarre trend of American homes that grow nothing inside them is really not shepherd-like and is bizarre. If you think about it, with how much space you have in a home and how much effort you put on, putting like furniture in your home, wouldn't you rather grow basil? Wouldn't you rather, grow mint? Wouldn't you rather grow ginger? Wouldn't you rather grow herbs and spices in your home? And the thing that's really interesting is that your spice rack and the spices in them are some of the primary vectors for parasites, which is something that should be really humbling for us that are, medical scientists, those of us that are in healthcare, and those of us that are Americans, is that we went from a shepherding tradition where we would, grow herbs in our home, grow spices in our home, to a culture where almost nobody does. Very few people do. And, that shows a directional move where parasites are winning. You don't want old, dry spices shipped from thousands of miles away. You want to be able to grow it in your home. You want your house to smell like spices and herbs. And again, that's an ancient tradition. Like, that's not a newfangled idea. The idea of, trying to bring the best of the world and try to grow it in your home is, the legend of, every monarchy within recorded history. And so, you can have a Manor One, you can have a Manor style home, you can have a castle style home where you grow, 27 different herbs and spices in your home, which is part of what we're trying to do, is reintroduce simple, foolproof horticulture back into your home. And, starting over with, the design of the home makes sense, because again, we've designed these homes that don't have windows that face south. We've built homes, that don't have any windows on the refrigerator or on the range top. Places where the slightest bit of UVA, UVC light every single day would eradicate incredible amounts of disease throughout your home, which is such a common sense thing and some old time logic that worked, really well for thousands of years. Was orienting your home towards the sun. and yet we don't have any formal process of having a sun plan, which is something we do at Manor One, or a water plan. Which up here in New England is really stunning that a huge proportion of folks are still on well water. Like the Tennessee Valley Authority didn't make it up here, and so we're trying to reintroduce public health methods and measures into your life. And again, like your life is a basket. Parasites don't get to carry along in that basket. And so like your life is a discontinuous basket where there's parasites all around you. They're in your food, they're on your appliances, they're throughout your home. And how do you kill them? How do you track them down and kill them? And again, it's, this idea of building in blocks against disease everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. And it helps to start with the design of your home, because there happen to be so many changes that need to be made that if you're thinking of designing a home, we want to work with you on that, because we think that the latest in enterology can apply and translate directly into the field in ways that can increase life expectancy again. Which I happen to have written a book, Perfecting the Brand American Medicine, where I was moved by the fact that life expectancy had declined since 2014. And life expectancy had doubled for the 100 years before that. I mean, medical scientists have done such a great job, and we stopped eradicating diseases, and again, new diseases started popping up fast, and we were killing them off, which is a public health disaster, and we have to do something about it. And part of that is changing how we design homes. And so at Manor One, we're leading this revolution of translating medical science and public health directly into design. There's an ancient Jagvedic word, sed, which means to sit. And they're all qualitative kinds of greases in a home, which are places where parasites linger. They're in oils. They're in proteins. They're in greases, fats. They're in debris. They're in drains. They're in dishwashers. Analogously, there's silts. There's sands. There's clays. There's loams. Those are some very traditional words for soil. And there's a distinction between dirt and microorganisms, which is a very important thing, because there are oils, of which oils are a vector for parasites. Proteins are a vector for parasites. Glucose are a vector for parasites. There are rusts, of which rust can be a hiding place for parasites. Calcium and magnesium are in hard water. Those happen to be a difficulty because calcium in water prevents soaps from lathering. It's a huge problem on huge parts of the United States that have hard water. And so folks are washing their hands and not getting clean. There's problems of starch, complex carbohydrates, which interestingly, they're not expressly glucose on the outside because they're long chain carbohydrates, but when you eat them, your body reduces them down to glucose. And it happens to be a lot of food for parasites. And, the low carb movement really comes from trying to starve out parasites, which is, one of the bright spots in our pop culture was that there were a handful of folks that noted a higher protein diet, a lower glucose diet was more successful. And why is that? The reality is that your body works so well on oil, on proteins, on carbs, that it doesn't necessarily prefer one of them. Your body has a metabolic system. It's a metabolic topology that can make any one of those three things into glucose that it needs at a cellular level. But having low glucose in your diet prevents parasites in your colon, which is a not so subtle way of pointing to where a lot of these parasites are. The nervous system, the human nervous system, which is called the enteric nervous system, again, it's been newly accepted as separate from the parasympathetic nervous system. For a long time, Western medicine saw them as the same nervous system, despite the enteric nervous system being so much more dense, having so many more nerve endings, and that it literally your your stomach and your digestive system have like a mind of its own, of right within your DNA, that your mind isn't necessarily conscious of. It's separate from your brain, but it's like where pangs from your body originate. And I mean, there's parasites that operate through that and around that, and that happens to be the whole issue. Is that if you think that free will is important, then you want to get parasites out of your body, because again, like we used to grow, like the shepherd tradition is growing fresh herbs in your home, and we've gone through a tradition of where we grew herbs and spices in our home we have spice closets that are filled with parasites. The multi-touch oils, including from your hands, on your spice cabinet, is a petri dish of parasites. The parasites are so extra natural that you have to have 2 or 3 layers of blocks to effectively get around them, which includes wearing gloves when you cook, includes literally having another physical barrier like paper towels to protect your body from content from those parasites. And if you just take all the spices and herbs and put them in your sink and sanitize them, you'll find the problem goes away. There's such a huge number of parasites on spices, and again, it comes from the connection, the cycle between meat and poultry production, egg production with spices, and that the parasites are in meats, poultry's eggs, the parasites know if they, well, not like they know, but through trial and error, basically, through the extra natural function through which parasites operate. Again, because they're so prolific, beyond what would be rational, more than what you see from rabbits. Rabbits are arguably pests, but we simply don't have a pervasive problem of 600 million people being overrun by rabbits in their kitchens. That would make the news. But because they're microorganisms, we don't follow it, and because we have a culture that's focused on getting rid of dirt instead of getting rid of parasites, when dirt doesn't matter, but getting rid of parasites does. And so we have, I happen to have worked in crop protection, so we have this solution of reintroducing 27 herbs and spices into your home and growing them in your home. It works really well in the design for a home, rather than trying to retrofit, because plants need so much more sunlight than what our homes are designed for. And so, adding, we're talking about all these different greases that are in the home, including on your spice cabinet, in your refrigerator, freezer, on your range top, in your sink. And people don't have tools in their home for removing all those qualitative different kinds of grease and all those different scenarios. Me, I was cleaning my range top, and I had to get down to a metal brush to start scraping rust off of the that old time range top where it had an aluminum can that had a first the range metal included a titanium alloy. It was a space age alloy. The part that you put the spiral grill that you directly put pots and pans on is a space age metal. but the metal underneath that is a just iron that rusts into the aluminum, and that happens to be a problem because the the coarseness of that aluminum with rust on it provides um, a place for parasites to be. And so, like, I went through scrubbing with a wire brush, you know, having it sit in the sun, um, having it sit in sanitizer, applying a rust remover, going back, like, and again, this is something that, how often does that need to get done? Well, every time you eat, it should be that clean. And I mean, it took 3 days. And like that's shows the importance of totally rethinking the way we live. Because again, like I was a competitive swimmer, like I spent my childhood like covered in chlorine, which like I caught on this fact that like chlorine fabrics happen to be really successful as a prophylactic against disease. I found that when I wasn't swimming, like when I didn't leave chlorine in my fabrics, like I was suddenly getting sick more. And so like having these different prophylactic options for keeping your home clean, keeping your house clean, comes down to understanding the different tools for doing so, which is really fascinating because like not everybody in America has a high quality degreaser in their home, and you need more than one because there are all those qualitative different kinds of grease. Um, Needs a disinfectant, of which disinfectant is sometimes equated with the word sanitizer, and sanitizers that are made out of alcohol have kind of like wandered into the space of the quaternary ammoniums that are way more effective. So like a like high quality disinfectant includes a quaternary ammonium. There are four compounds that are mixed together that are hugely effective in disinfecting. That is what's used at the highest level in healthcare and home care. It doesn't percolate into every part of healthcare that it should. But I mean, that is, a high quality disinfectant belongs in every home in America. You should have a disinfecting sink in every home in America. I've not seen a residence other than mine that has a disinfecting sink. And so in Manor One, we're reintroducing the sanitizing technology of having aluminum basins for cleaning your dishware so that it actually gets free of parasites. Because, parasites, if you just put dish soap on them, you're like giving them a fun bath. Like, does your dish soap kill E. coli? Does it kill Canidia? Does it kill Salmonella? You might find that it doesn't. And so it's possible that you're giving your parasites a bath and you're going through the time of washing them. Again, there's a difference between dirty and disinfected. And disinfecting requires a quaternary ammonium, of which people don't even have staging space in their home to have quaternary ammoniums. But like your range top should be, receive a quaternary ammonium. Your refrigerator should receive a quaternary ammonium. And again, the Manor One philosophy is making it easy and simple. So how do you get there? We'll tell you all about it. We have systems that are affordable that don't require you to spend all your day cleaning. Because again, to be realistic about how you get there, you need to have a better designed home. Your home has to be designed for you, and designed, in the old Jagfetic word TKEI, TKEI, which is a home, a settlement, a dwelling, and not some habitat for parasites. Because a lot of the homes that have been designed, again through the extranational means that parasites have been involved in human affairs, and how they continue to spawn. You look at COVID-19, continue to be involved in our lives, in our workplaces, in our homes. We need to strike back and strike hard. And Manor One, I think, is on the front line of that war. Which is includes adding blocks throughout the house, having high quality in situ workspaces. So like in the situation, so that for those of you that work at home, having a high quality workstation is key. That happens to be something that's really important. Me, as I was doing a lot of educational videos, like I found what I really need is I need a green screen, and plan for adding art and logos, and I'm continuously trying to improve that, and proud of it. Still have a way to go. Um, Again, having like an anti-parasitic diet, of which I'm not aware of a medical specialty that makes claims on the anti-parasitic diet, but I think that the enterology field that traced back to Louis Pasteur, Edward Jenner, and Jonas Salk points to that it is possible to put things into our bodies that kill off parasites, which is part of the solution. Having an anti-tag life, so like this, kind of like the children's game tag, playing tag. So like there are parasites that are involved in us playing different kinds of tag, and there's different qualitative kinds. And one of them, like while you're sleeping, is playing tag with your pillow. The pillowcase is something that arguably needs to be replaced every single night. Us at Manor One, we've looked at like adding paper towels as a barrier, and exploring how you can use that paper towel as a diagnostic for like different parasites, because again, like the likelihood that you're reinfecting yourself on your own pillowcase is significant, because it isn't a sterile surface, it isn't sanitized. Pillows have not been sanitized. Very few people go through the trouble of trying to sanitize their pillowcase. Arguably, it should be sanitized every night, every day. Adding barriers and adding blocks happens to be the philosophy that wins, because again, trying to sanitize your pillow every day is outrageous. So changing up pillowcase is good, but adding a paper barrier is super useful. And so that'd be sort of a tag face, tag mouth, thrush style tag. The second one is in English it was like a tag buttock, basically, which includes like washroom activities, and other activities. That's one of the means that parasites find themselves throughout our house, is that through a cycle of being reintroduced. Tag fingernail, tag toenail. If you look at the average person's fingernails, you can actually see the slightest bit of parasite in the coloring. Like our nails are not naturally discolored. That happens to be something that's very striking. That parasite has to be killed with one or more method, and like regular hand washing might not be enough. It's possible, particularly based on your water supply. If you have calcium and magnesium in your water supply, you're never going to kill off those parasites without going to the mattresses. John kills parasites, and so like and that's something that we want to do, is build a manor home that's safe, so people live longer lives, and eliminate parasites from under their fingernails. The fourth one is tag glycemic. So like again, these folks that have been on the low carb, low sugar diet, like they've noticed something, which is if you have less sugar in your diet, you have less parasites in your life. And like a lot of the testimonials are tied back to like low carb, low sugar diets made them happy. Particularly if you listen real closely to the narrative stories, because I think in totality the narrative stories point to missing the first meal of sugars and carbs was really traumatic. The second one was very difficult. And then over time, as the parasites are dying off, it becomes easy. And so, like, as you hear people that are on very, very low carb diets, like a lot of their experience is that they've killed off parasites in their body. Because, like, again, your body doesn't fundamentally function in a superior way with zero glucose. except if you're killing off parasites. And that's one of the things in this field of enterology is the realization that the phenomenon of body mass, gain, inflammation gain, like originates from these parasites, and not in totality necessarily with body fat, because you have the thermodynamic effect of fructose, which I can talk about. Like I published that in my, I have a 3-book set, Metabolic Topology, which happens to be important because the fructose happens to be a smaller molecule than glucose, which is important. It has fewer bindings, and so like when you eat fructose thermodynamically, it's not warming your body. When you look at the thermodynamics, the biochemistry of eating, longer chained things break down more, and you get a thermal gain. When you eat raw, glucose, you're not getting a thermal gain because glucose is the irreducible currency, where it is used at the cellular level, at all levels throughout your body. Fructose is actually smaller than glucose, and so your body, you're eating, but you're thermodynamically getting cold. And like, so fructose, which is in a lot of fruits and a lot of sweets, like why is it bad for you? Well, one of it is, thermodynamically it doesn't warm you up. And so folks that like transition go to like eating, longer chain foods, report, better satiation or whatever. What they're really trying to describe is that thermodynamically, the food they ate heated them, whereas with fructose makes you cold. And that, me, I'm a published, biochemist. My book Metabolic Topology is on sale. Happens to be a pretty good book. But it's one of those important findings on, what's food and what's non-food, because fructose is arguably non-food. And there's very few scientists that say that, but your body doesn't use fructose. Your body needs to build fructose into glucose. It needs a it needs to do like a minor miracle, you'd say. And it is a miracle because it's, biochemistry. But like, I mean, your body needs to like add bindings to the fructose to make it into glucose, to make it useful, which you're asking your body to do work to eat. And that doesn't, it fundamentally doesn't work. But you can see if someone's eating fructose and gaining weight, that's part of why people have gained weight, and not just because they're trying out for an NFL team. Because again, like the whole rise of the NFL has intervened in the obesity epidemic. There's very good reason to think that there's an extranatural effect between offensive linemen and the obesity epidemic. The correlation is really striking. Actually, when you look, and again, when you look at the rise of obesity, it matches the rise in offensive linemen body mass index. Because again, in the 70s, offensive linemen were normal. There were people that were just like, good at positional play. And then they just became massive and oversized. And like, if you look at it, NFL offensive linemen have been the leading indicator of obesity. And if you look at their hometowns, and you look at the hometowns of where Americans have gotten obese, they also match. You look at the CDC grid of body mass index and lay it against the hometowns of offensive linemen in the NFL, you'll realize that there's a real connection. And so like the worship of the NFL is one of the root causes. It's like the false prophets of beating your head against each other. Happens to be one of the extranatural causes of obesity. And you'll see America was stricken with it. America's the only, full-fledged NFL owning country. Canada has their own football league. Canada has a minor problem. If you look elsewhere in the world, the obesity epidemic is basically how close the relationships are to NFL football. And you'll see countries that have no connection to NFL football have almost no obesity epidemic. And so, like, it happens to be a bummer, but NFL football is why there's obesity. And so you'll find if you fundamentally reject NFL football, that's one of the things that will make you thinner. And so we're talking about different kinds of tags. So tag foot and tag footwear. So like yeast, like there's a trade term of athlete's foot, which is far more prevalent than described. But like, you know, it's really a tag game because that is a parasite that manifests itself in your food and manifests throughout your home, and that's a sign that there's canidia in your house. Even the slightest bit of like athlete's foot isn't spontaneously spread between people playing footsie. Athlete's foot is originating from um, a probably large scale canidia infestation of your home. And it has to be, because again, it doesn't like blowing on a cloud. You know what I mean? Like for it to be on your feet, it's all over your home. And it'd have to be. And like the measures to then get rid of it is not as simple as spraying it, which is nice. You have to get rid of all the surfaces. Manage, and with COVID, we have this new understanding of how pervasive that particular virus was throughout our culture. But I mean, there's a whole class of 31 different parasites such as Canidia that have been in our homes all along. And again, at Manor One, we have a solution for adding 3 blocks to your home that eliminate these footwear issues. Because again, it's basically losing our old shepherd tradition, of which we had old time ways of keeping keeping parasites at bay by having different steps as you came into the castle. The other, like tag, groin, which is, qualitatively different thing. But again, if you have an experience with like jock itch, or like a yeast infection, like the likelihood that Canidia is all over your house is high. Like, there's not isolated breakouts of Canidia. They're not spread from again, from foot to foot between us on one body part. They're, if you have a large Canidia issue, it would be all over your house. And it kind of has to be as pervasive as it is. 75% of women in their lifetime have confirmed yeast infection, which is Canidia. That number is so high and so outrageously high that you have to look at what that parasite is and what it does. And that's a truly extranatural finding that 75% of women have Canidia, which is, I mean, it's outrageous. 6% of babies are born with Canidia. They come into the world with Canidia, which again, that's one of those 31 parasites that the WHO says are on their watch list because 600 million people get sick from foodborne illness, and again, it's Manor One is about eliminating these parasite risks throughout your home and having a simple process for how you live your life parasite free. And then tag fridge, tag range, tag dishes. Refrigerators are festering places for disease. We have a dual fridge with a peekaboo trom wall concept that integrates the appliance with your home and gets natural UVA, UVC lighting on your refrigerator, and also rotates between 2 refrigerators, which we think is so important. Again, that you have one refrigerator that's always open for business and a second one that's being cleaned. Because again, that's one of the simple solutions. And you see that in nature, where you see repeating of a pattern or repeating of a thing. And, the range is the same issue, basically, that, the dials on the range are covered in parasites, sort of like underneath the range coils and, like right underneath the aluminum, where they're like not easily seen. You can have it's just a design flaw on a lot of ranges, but again, ranges need to, be totally sanitized. a range needs to be sanitized. Um, Must. Tag dishes. So like washing by hand. Um, there's a lot of risk to it, particularly if you don't use any sanitizer. Um, and when I say sanitizer, I really mean disinfectant in this case. But because again, dishes need to be disinfected, and so like what system do you use for disinfecting dishes in your home? At Manor One, we have a solution for that. It's the one that is used in healthcare. It's used in the highest quality healthcare settings. It's used, it's indicated for food. It happens to be recommended by the Restaurant Association that they have a process of certifying. And the process, if it's good enough for mandated in restaurants, it's good enough for mandated in your own home. And then there's tag frequent locations like light switches, doorknobs, which again, there's some old time logic on, but I mean, those can't just be wiped clean, they need to be disinfected. And the system for how you disinfect all those things, you know, it is quite an undertaking. But you can do it. It's worth it for your health. And again, at Manor One, we want to build you a home that is sturdy against parasites. So you have free will. And yeah, so like again at Manor One, we're trying to help you jump over those hurdles, and that includes rethinking how we design a home in light of what Homo sapiens really want, in light of what you really want to eat, and making the things that you eat available, including adding those 27 herbaceous gardens to your home. Something that's a luxury. It's a luxury that is not extraordinarily expensive. It actually will save you money over time. You won't get sick. And it's an old time shepherding tradition that we're trying to bring back at Manor One.